Hello everybody, this is Marcus Toole, and I don't know if you can see him or not, but it's me and my cat Sogway, and I am about, I can't tell if you can see me or not. Yeah, it's me and my cat Sogway, and I'm about to go dewberry picking. I'm here in my yard, and the dewberries actually aren't on my property. They're growing in a stormwater storage swell that's across the street from my property, and some wild dewberry bushes came up in it, dewberry vines. This is a viney type of blackberry. It's a very low growing one, very early season blooming, very early season ripening. In fact, it's really the first berry that ripens around here, and generally speaking, dewberries are not the blackberry species that I mostly harvest in terms of the wild ones. They are quite edible. They're very delicious, but the plants are kind of small, kind of low growing. The fruit is kind of small in comparison to some of the other species. But this year we've had a wet year, a very exceptionally good growing season for them. And there's just just naturally an abundant crop across the street, enough for harvesting quite a bit. In fact, I harvested some yesterday and made some chocolate dewberry cobbler. Man, let me tell you, that was some delicious stuff. And Sogway here really just wants to sit and snuggle, and he's going to be very sad because I'm about to put him down. But I guarantee he's going to follow us to the dewberry patch. Well, let's go and see how this goes. I have my buckets here. Actually, I'm just going to take the one, smaller one, and let's go to the dewberry patch. As you see across the street here is the swell that has the dewberries growing in the edges of it. And this was put in a couple of years ago. The city doesn't do a good job of mowing it, which is actually okay with me given the fact that it's on account of them not mowing it very well that I have a good crop of dewberries. There are a few on this side. In fact, this is what we're talking about right here, the dewberries. A few of them there, but there's much greater abundance as we go on in. Another thing that's coming up in here are some little huckleberry bushes. These are some seedlings from the bushes that are in my yard. Most of the dewberries are not quite ripe yet, but there is enough here to gather. You see the red berries, those are the ones that aren't quite ripe, and there's just mixed in a few that are black. And that's what I'm going to be picking in just a little bit. So let me set up the camera, and I'll be back with you. One of the things people ask about dewberries, or you may be wondering about them, is how do they taste? Well, they taste pretty much like any other good blackberry. If there's a distinction in flavor, there's not quite the bitter aftertaste that you get with some of the wild ones and even some of the cultivars. It doesn't have any bitterness in it at all. If anything, it's a little bit tart. But really, these are very sweet. The distinctive thing about the taste is that I would say that there's a little bit, it's almost like a chocolate undertone to it. Here's some. Man, they're good, but a little bit of chocolate. The berries are a little bit more crumbly than our other native species that I typically collect. The sandhill blackberry, that's Rubus cuneofolia. This one here is Rubus hispidus. And Rubus cuneofolia, the berries just hold together a little better, which makes them easier to pick. Also, the Rubus cuneofolia, or sandhill blackberries, you know, they're knee-high, they're little bushes, knee-high to waist-high, so they're a lot easier to pick, and which is why I usually pick them rather than this Rubus hispidus. In fact, if these weren't growing on a berm, I don't know that I would mess with them, just because they're so low growing and back-breaking to pick. that they're growing on this side of this stormwater storage pond really makes picking a lot easier than it otherwise would be. And it's just a really abundant crop this year, so yeah, I'm definitely going to be picking these berries, not just today, but other days as well. Y'all hear those frogs in the background? Noisy, aren't they? They kind of came out since that rain we had yesterday. We got about 4 inches yesterday. Well, I'm still going here. Kind of moved to a different part of the blackberry patch. I know I'm calling them blackberries instead of dewberries now. That's okay. They are a species of blackberry. Dewberry picking is prickly, back-breaking work. But one thing I can say about it is that any kind of foraging for wild fruit I find very rewarding. Often makes great desserts that you absolutely cannot buy. You can buy blackberries, but you can't buy these. In fact, I posted something about dewberries a few weeks ago, and someone asked, can you get them at the grocery store? And my response was, this is, as far as I know, is a wild species. I mean, I could certainly cultivate them if I wanted to give the space to doing it. And they do come up in other plantings, and sometimes I let them stay. But there are other blackberry species that are a lot easier to harvest. And the commercial ones, you know, this is not the commercial one. And this is really just as good flavor-wise, and is just slightly different. So, I mean, it's got its own flavor to it. I mean, it's not radically different. I think if I handed you a dewberry and didn't tell you what it was, and you ate it, I think you would, your mouth, your tongue would tell you, blackberry. But it is a little different. When you compare it to a commercial blackberry, it is a little different. Now, I grew up as a kid, foraging for blackberries was my favorite thing to do. That, huckleberries, wild plums, including these dewberries, although never really, as a child on the property we had, you never saw dewberries like this, not this thick, not this many really good, high-quality ones. It was usually sandhill blackberries. And the only reason these dewberries are doing this good is this just been a really wet year. They have had a really good spring. Looks like my cat Sogway's come to visit.
What is it?
These are blackberries, or dewberries.
Oh, yeah.
They're little viney kind. They're good. You want some?
No. I'll go pick some later.
Yeah, they're
Maybe I
good.
want to put some in some muffins or something.
They're good that way. I made a cobbler yesterday. We put dark chocolate in it. Oh, they were fabulous.
Oh, okay.
That was good. But yeah, they would be really good enough. They're really good. I said next week, it's a lot of them now, but next week is really going to be something.
Okay. Not scared? Ain't no snakes down in there? I'll be scared.
I want to show you what I got so far. I'm going to get more, but I just thought I'd let you see. One of my neighbors asked me if I was worried about snakes picking berries in here, and that is definitely something to be aware of whenever you're picking berries in southeast Georgia. Snakes are attracted to these thickets, and they are especially attracted to them when there are berries around because birds are attracted to them. So it's something to be aware of. But as I told her, I've never seen any of the poisonous species in Statesboro here. I just haven't. That doesn't mean they aren't here, but with all the orcharding and doing all the berry plants I have on my own property, if there were a lot of poisonous snakes around, I'd be seeing them. One of the things to be aware of is that when you're in a place like this is to be aware of chiggers. That you can get in here. Chiggers are little kind of cousins to the tick, and so when you go berry picking, it's in the deep south, in the woods, it's pretty important to take a shower as soon as you get in the house, or else you're going to be itching that night most likely. And that's just that is a reality of berry picking for sure. Hey puppy doggy, how are you doing? You come to help me pick berries? I don't know you, but you seem friendly enough. One of the things to protect against snakes around here, none of our poisonous snakes in the southeast are especially aggressive. The most aggressive one of the bunch are the water moccasins. A little different story out west. Some of the rattlesnakes out west are super aggressive, but the ones around here, not as much. As long as you have your skin covered, if you do get bit, most likely they won't release their venom. Now, when you're reaching down towards the ground where they are, and they get a chance to hit you on the hand or on the face, then they're going to release venom. So it's important to be aware where you're putting your hands in a situation like this. I'm trying not to stomp down the berries too bad. It's kind of hard maneuvering in here with these viney things without trampling them while you're doing it. Berries are a little bigger on this end of this drainage area. I think soil over here this way is a little better.
Hey, Mr. Mom.
Hey, how you doing?
What, you gonna make some jam or something?
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with them. I made some cobbler the other day.
Okay.
I might dry some of them. They make good tea when they're dried.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, they make good tea.
Yeah?
Leaves make good tea too.
I didn't know about all that.
Very good, very, huh?
What, the leaves off the berry bushes?
They, you make the tea. It's a mixture. You dry the berries and you dry the leaves, and you kind of mix it together and put it in like a little cheesecloth, and put it in some boiling water. It'll turn that the berries will turn that boiling water purple. Put just a little bit of sweetener in it, and it's a good tea. But the big thing is, it's really good for men. It's really, if you have issues with kidney infections and prostate infections, stuff like that, it's really good to help with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Blueberries are really good for that too.
Yeah, I know blueberry. I just love to take them and eat them.
Yeah. These little low-growing type of blackberries are kind of a back-breaking thing. It helps that they're on this berm here, kind of be on the bottom of it and pick up.
Yeah.
But they're so low to the ground. I'm used to picking the more bush-type blackberries.
Yeah.
They're a little easier. But these guys, these are the best I've ever seen. This kind of blackberry in terms of just the quality of the berries. They're sweet. They're big. All that rain we got really helped them, made them fill out nice and juicy.
Okay.
I made a cobbler with chocolate. The first time I tried making a cobbler with blackberries and chocolate, boy, was that ever good. That was good. I ate way too many calories.
Look at that little camera there.
Yeah. Yeah, I taking videos of my orchard all the time with my cell phone, and today I decided, well, I'm going to go use a little bit of that stimulus money and buy myself a little camera. They don't cost much.
Yeah.
And use for filming myself doing stuff in my garden and for when I go fishing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a cheap little camera, but
Well, it lets you know what's going on around.
Yeah. I'll post it on Facebook and YouTube and stuff.
Good thing.
I ought to go and turn it. It's actually running now. It's a video, ongoing video thing. I don't know if it's picking up audio or not. I'm still learning how to work it.
Oh, okay.
It may just be when I picked the berries. Once again, these are dewberries, which is a species of blackberry. These guys have been sitting out overnight. That's actually deliberate to help them finish ripen, because not all the berries were totally ripe. And so today I'm going to clean them off, and then I'm going to spread some of them on a cookie sheet and dry them out. The rest I'm going to put in a plastic bag with some berries that I collected a few days ago, and they are going to go into the freezer for future use. Cleaning blackberries is a multi-step process. It's a pretty important process because, as you can see, I'm sure you can see well enough to tell. Well, maybe you can't see well enough to tell. But they're just full of all kinds of crap. Little pieces of the green parts, the little pieces of stem, just all kinds of stuff that got in with the berries while I was picking them. And so cleaning them off is part of it, and there's several steps to it. It's just a matter of kind of start it, and you just kind of take them out like so and put them in the other sink, which has a drain stopper in it, so that the berries don't go down into the drain. They could potentially stop up my drain if enough of them did that. It wouldn't stop it up for long. I mean, they're so soft, it would, you know, Drano would make quick work of them, but still. I could have gone a couple of days. There'll be so many more blackberries the next time I go out there. Unless, of course, other people catch the idea and go and collect them. I don't think they will, though. I don't think any of the people that saw me picking berries are actually going to do it themselves. And if they do, they won't be very many. One of my neighbors was asking me if I ever have problems with people stealing fruit off my fruit trees in my yard. And the answer to that question is the only thing I ever have problem with people stealing are plums, and a little bit with, in the past I've had the problem with muscadine grapes. I don't know if people like take any of the berries or not, but I don't think most people are inclined around here are inclined to pick berries. And it's just too much work, takes too long. And especially they aren't going to go out there in someone else's yard and sit there for hours picking berries. So I don't lose too many berries. I do lose some plums. Funny, people don't steal pears though. I would have thought before I did this, I thought I would have the most problem with pears because pears are big and they're quick to pick. People don't steal pears. They will steal plums. That's just an odd thing, but it is what it is. I think generally speaking, people in this neighborhood just generally like plums better than just about any other kind of fruit, and that's a bit of a cultural thing. So while I'm filling this other sink up with water again for the second washing, I am going to wipe this thing out with a paper towel. Get all the junk that came in here with these berries out. Put the drain in loosely so that it can drain. I put the berries in. Just a little bit of understanding the sort of the classification of fruit. Blackberries, strawberries, raspberries are not really berries. Botanically, they're not classified as berries. They're actually blackberry is known as an aggregate of drupes. And what I mean by an aggregate of drupes is if you look at the berry up close, you see these little tiny bits of fruit in here, and each one of those has one seed in it, and that so a fruit with one seed in it is called a drupe. Think of a plum or a peach. Those are drupes. And so the blackberry is each little fruitlet is structurally is more like a plum or a peach than it is like a true berry. One of the true berries that you don't normally think of as being a berry is not oranges, but tomatoes. You know, people are familiar with calling tomatoes fruit, but the specific sort of fruit that a tomato actually is, it's a berry. It's just a really big one. And technically what makes a berry is that it's a soft-bodied fruit with chambers, and the seeds are in the chambers. And that's what makes a berry a berry. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry these guys. I'm going to dry them in my oven, and you set the temperature to 140 degrees, which I'm doing now. You can't see me doing it, but that's what I'm doing. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is put these guys in a baking pan while the oven is heating up, and I'm just going to spread them out. Now, I'm drying these for the purpose of making tea. Oh, shoot. Now, I'm going to make sure these are no more than one layer thick. Okay. All right, that's it for now. I'm going to finish this video off out at the Winlo plantation because I want to show you a couple other things. We are here on the Winlo Pine plantation, and this is a stand of trees that's, I'm not remembering how old these are. I'm guessing they're about 7 or 8 years old. Probably not 8 years old, about 6 or 7 years old. These are loblolly pines. Underneath these trees, they're just at the right stage where you have this really nice thicket of sandhill blackberries growing under them. Sandhill blackberries are about knee-high to about waist-high. There's a huge crop sitting on them right now. They're just finishing up the blooming process. This is going to be a really good year for them, provided it continues to rain. If it continues to rain, this will be the best blackberry harvest we will have had in quite a few years. And to have a really good dewberry harvest in Statesboro is just sauce for the goose. Now, speaking of the dewberries, we do have some right here. There are a few out here. Actually, they're doing really well out here this year. It's just that this is more typically how you see them, and it just isn't, for me at least. You know, I'll pick a few to eat as I'm walking around the edge, but I'm not going to be sticking my hands all the way down next to the ground to get dewberries out here where, you know, you have a fairly healthy population of rattlesnakes, because that's just a recipe for getting bitten on the hand or on the face. One thing I do want to do, though, is in a little bit I'm going to take you to another location and show you what the third blackberry species looks like, and that's the swamp blackberry, which is Rubus betulifolia. But before I do that, I want to show you the details of what the leaves of the Rubus cuneifolia look like. They're dark green on the top side, but when you turn the plant over, they're kind of white on the bottom side, and they're fuzzy on the bottom side. And notice that the tips of the leaves are kind of blunt. They're kind of rounded, and that is, those are the characteristics of Rubus cuneifolia. And this is the species of blackberry that for the southeastern United States is the best one for eating. Sometimes you'll see Rubus cuneifolia, Rubus betulifolia, and Rubus hispidus, the dewberries growing together. We got two of them growing together here, but not the third one. The reason we don't have the third one growing on this site is because it's just too dry. This spot here, if we didn't have planted pines, it would actually be a sandhill. And Rubus cuneifolia is what's called a sandhill blackberry, and they like these. This is a dry, well-drained sand here, and they like those conditions. The Rubus hispidus basically tolerates these conditions, and the Rubus betulifolia need, they're called swamp blackberries, and they like wet conditions. And where the three will grow together is in an area where the soil is moist, not especially dry, not especially wet, just kind of good garden soil kind of soil. You'll get both together. But in a dry spot here, the betulifolia will fall out. Where I'll take you next is a wet spot, and there you will not find any Rubus cuneifolia. If I looked hard enough, I could probably find some Rubus. I have in the foreground here a third species of blackberry that I wanted to talk about before I end this video altogether. This is the swamp blackberry, Rubus betulifolia, and these make huge vines. These particular vines here are nowhere near as big as Rubus betulifolia can be. You can see that there's actually a fair crop of blackberries forming on these bushes. Rubus betulifolia makes huge bushes. They make really brutal thickets of briars, and more often than not, the berries are pretty bitter. Now, every once in a while, you'll come across a stand of Rubus betulifolia or swamp blackberry where the berries are not bitter, and they're pretty good. They're almost never as good as the other two, although an absolutely fabulous swamp blackberry may be better than a terrible sandhill blackberry produced in a dry year. But ordinarily the sandhill blackberries and the dewberries are much better. You can tell them from the sandhill blackberries. Sandhill blackberries are generally smaller plants, smaller leaves. The leaflets are a little bit more rounded on them. The biggest difference is the backs of the Rubus betulifolia. The leaves are almost the same color as the top side, whereas on the cuneifolia, the leaves on the underside have white hairs and are kind of fuzzy and are kind of light colored, and that's the difference. Well, this is Marcus Toole, and that's it for this video on dewberries. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. This is my first time working with this camera, and it is my first time editing videos, and who knows how good this is going to turn out to be. Thank you for suffering through it. It's also kind of a long video with lots of parts, but I also hope you learned some things about our native blackberries and about just life in South Georgia. You didn't see them, but you got to hear some of my neighbors talking to me, and you just get a sort of a sense of the neighborhood I live in, and out here on the plantation, which is where I basically grew up. You just got a little piece of my life. While I learn how to do these videos, and who knows, maybe one day I'll make good enough videos that I could even monetize them. We'll see about that. But stay tuned. You know, click the bell, click like, click subscribe, and more videos will come in the future. They'll get better, and I hope to make some cool ones, especially some on gardening and fishing. Talk to you later. God bless. Bye.